How to Craft a Compelling Memoir, 5 Ways to Engage Your Readers. Hi, my name is Duncan Kerber, and before we move into the training, I want to talk about who this training is for. And number 1, you haven't started writing your memoir. I think you're going to get a lot out of this if you haven't started yet. Maybe it'll provide a framework or a way forward for you. But maybe you've started. So you've started writing, but you need a push forward. I think this training can help you with moving forward. Or maybe you've written a lot. You've got half done or 3/4 done, but you want to make sure you've covered all the bases before you finish. I think these are the 3 categories of writers that will get the most out of this training. Who is this training not for? You're finished and looking for tips on publishing or marketing. If you're at that stage, you're beyond what I'm going to talk about here, I think. I also don't provide any tips on publishing or marketing. There's a lot of people on the web who are experts in that area. I like to focus on the creative side, the beginner side of writing a memoir, and trying to engage with readers. Another category of writer this training is not for is you've published 1 or more memoirs. Congratulations, you've already got your books out there. You've already found your audience. You know what you're doing. You've mastered it if you've already published. Now, you can keep watching if you want. You may learn something helpful for writing your 3rd book or 4th book or whatever. But I just want to warn you that the training is more directed to people in those first 3 categories on the previous slide. So before we proceed into the training, I just want to let you know that if you get value from me and everything I cover in this video makes sense, I'll be revealing an opportunity to work with me at the end of this video. I pride myself on being transparent with you and feel it's important to do so. So if that's okay, let's begin. I want to talk about who I am. Who's this guy that's talking about memoir writing? Well, I've been writing for as long as I can remember. These were some of the first books I ever wrote. Not memoir, fiction. The mix-up fairy tale, Pumpkins on Strike. Been writing since I was very young. In high school, this was my high school, I was interested in being a journalist. And I wrote for the campus or the school paper. And in my final year of high school, I actually did a co-op program where I worked for 6 months, got credit for it. Worked at a newspaper, a pretty large community newspaper at the time. It was the biggest in Canada, in the town of Mississauga, Ontario, which now is a town of close to 1 million people. But I worked at the Mississauga News doing sports writing, and I just loved it. I loved writing other people's stories. Then I went on to university and worked at the campus newspaper, and here are just some of my clippings. And I wanted to be a journalist so badly. This was my career path, that I did a master's degree in journalism. And of course, I worked at another newspaper called the London Free Press, which is a higher level than the Mississauga News. And here are some clippings of the work that I did there. But then things changed. I actually got into teaching and I did a PhD program in communication. And I decided I preferred to teach rather than be a journalist. So I moved into a PhD program. And since 2009, I've been a professor at various universities in Canada. Here's my proud father on the day I graduated with that degree, with the funny hat and the big robes. So over my whole career, I've written hundreds of magazine and newspaper articles, 15 academic book chapters and journal articles, and 2 books. One book I'm going to talk about in a second that's particularly relevant to memoir writing. And I've taught over 6,000 students in almost 20 years at the university level. Online, I've taught over 25,000 students in almost 10 years in various online writing courses. And of all those students, whether online or at the university, more than 10,000 have worked with me on personal narrative writing, also called memoir writing, sometimes called autobiography. And here's some reviews. You can pause this video and read these reviews of some of my online writing courses. This was a particularly funny, amusing, but good review of one of my writing courses. Good knowledge, damn understandable. This course blows, ... sweet cinnamon onto my taste buds that crave knowledge. And Russell wrote, this is an absolutely masterful course. It's punch after punch of useful juice. I mentioned earlier I wrote 2 books. One of those books is actually a textbook with the very famous press, Oxford University Press from England. And this book, Clear, Precise, Direct, came out in 2015. It is a writing textbook that is the only writing textbook focused on personal narrative writing, so stories of your life. And here's one example of one of my university students who got a publication credit. Jafar Uncle's Chocolates was the name of her little story here, Nabila Rizvi. And she was in one of my university classes that focused on narrative of people's lives, the personal lives, and a really wonderful story. I've only given you a taste of it here. You would have to get the book to read the ending, but a very moving story that really captures life in a small village in India. So that's me. That's where I come from, my expertise, both as a university professor and as a journalist. Now I want to turn to the potential of memoir. So much personal narrative writing has amazing potential to find an audience. That's what you want to do with your memoirs. And each person has lived a unique life with fascinating tales to tell. You all have it in you. You all have a unique life, and I know you can excavate something from your life into book form that will entertain others. If you dig deep enough, everyone can find those fascinating stories, those fascinating tales in their past. But that's not enough. Many memoir writers, particularly beginners, fail to engage with readers. And that's what this training video is all about, is about how do you engage with readers. Without engagement, it doesn't matter how good those stories are in your mind. Even if you think you've had a wonderful life, an interesting life, if people tell you, hey, you should write that down, you should get that into a book form, it doesn't really matter how good those stories are if people aren't going to want to read them. And don't think it's a problem with the readers. I know a lot of writers say, well, it's a problem with them, not me. It's a problem with your approach. And that's what this engagement training is all about. And why bother spending the time and effort writing thousands of words if you can't engage with readers? This is the stuff you need to know when you're early on in your memoir writing process. The best memoir writers know how to engage, and the results are in the book reviews that you read on Amazon. Here are some examples of results, the outcomes of engaging well with readers. Here's someone on an Amazon book review who said, I just finished reading this book and I'm completely moved. The story is one of resilience, courage, and personal growth. I connected with his struggles and triumphs on a deep level and found inspiration in his journey. Some key words there: connected, inspiration, completely moved. Here's another example. I couldn't put down this memoir. It's a captivating and beautifully written account of her life. Her ability to reflect on her past and share the lessons she learned is truly remarkable. So captivating, beautifully written, remarkable. And this review actually came from a book written by one of the former cast members of the TV show Friends. He had a problem with alcoholism, and I grabbed this review off his page. So somebody wrote, this book is captivating. There's that word again, right? Captivating. A very honest book with no details spared. I was emotionally invested from page 1. This book was intimate, and I feel like I was part of the story. Well written, and I'm grateful for the openness. A must read. So again, captivating, invested, intimate, well written, and very open. Imagine those comments were for your memoir. Everybody wants those kind of comments, right? How would you feel? Think about that for a second. So now I want to turn to what I call the rules of engagement. How do you connect with readers? And there are 5 techniques to create a connection with readers in your memoir. Number 1 is choose the right scene. Sounds obvious, maybe on first glance, but what does that mean? Well, for one thing, we want to choose moving moments. They can be big or small. They don't have to be big moments, earthquakes, and when somebody got shot when you were 10 years old or something like that. It doesn't have to be the big stuff. Small things can sometimes move people too, but you have to, in the initial stages, think about those moments in your life that are vivid and moving. You need to be very specific. Detail is so important. What can go wrong, though? What can hold you back from choosing the right scenes? One is just procrastination. Sometimes you can't get started. Many of you might not know where to begin. Some people choose mundane moments or just the everyday, nothing happens. That can be a problem. And also there's memory difficulty. Sometimes we can't remember what happened 20, 30 years ago. That can inhibit choosing the right scenes. So that was rule of engagement number 1. The second rule of engagement is to reduce distance. What do I mean? Primarily, that means language choices that maximize the audience size. So you want to use language that anyone can understand. I call that everyday language. You are not writing an academic paper. You're not writing a physics paper. You're writing something that everyday people can understand. People down to, grade 10, grade 9, grade 8 could understand. That's going to maximize your audience if you're writing in that everyday language. Also means avoiding wordiness. There's a tendency in almost everyone to write in a wordy way, using more words than they need to, or big words, or archaic words. That can turn people off. That can turn readers off, reducing your audience size. And also being direct is really important. So not writing in a roundabout or in a rambling sort of way, stream of consciousness, but being direct, getting to the point, not delaying things. This is not a mystery. This is your life, and being direct is so important. In the end, you're trying to write to connect with readers. You're not writing to impress readers with big words and long sentences. You want to connect with them, get into their brains quickly and easily, and move them in some way. So what can go wrong? What can increase distance between you and your reader? Well, again, the opposite of what I just said on the previous slide, your style puts up barriers. If your writing is hard to process, that can increase the distance between you and your readers. And some people just have a show-off style. They want to impress with the big words and long sentences. It's like they have a thesaurus sitting next to them, and they're choosing, alternate words for every word that they put down. So now let's turn to rule of engagement number 3. Make it move. Again, things must happen. And I find in a lot of the writers that I work with, sometimes their stories have nothing happening for 300 words, 500 words. There's a lot of internal monologue and not a focus on action, not a focus on speech. Action and speech are where things happen, where stories move along, where we find out things. So we want to let stories play out. What can get in the way of trying to make it move? Well, the first thing is characters sometimes just exist. A lot of stories that I read have a character all by themselves in their room thinking about their life, thinking about their past. And that can slow things down. And readers they want something to happen. Also, a lot of people use memoirs to make arguments, which is fine. I mean, some of the great memoirs of our time do argue something about the human condition or about life in general. But you have to be careful that the ratio between arguing and showing a story is a little bit different. We want to show more than we want to argue. We don't want to stop the action for too long, for commentary. If you want to add in a line here or there that comments, from a current time perspective, comments on the past, comments on your childhood, you can get away with it a bit. A sentence here, 2 sentences there. But if you spend half a page or more stopping the story to contextualize it, to provide commentary, to make an argument about something, then readers are going to be turned off by that. They want to see things happen. And so you want to have a ratio of more action to commentary. So that was number 3. Number 4 on the rules of engagement is to create pictures. Remember, the reader can't see your past. They can't see your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your dog, your cat. They can't see the school, can't see your bedroom when you were 10 years old. So you have to let the reader see. And that comes through immersive detail. We need a lot of detail. You're going to have to rack your brain and remember details of the past. What pictures did you have on your wall when you were a kid? What did your grade 4 teacher wear? What kind of haircut did your mother have when you were 15 years old? We need to see. We can't see if you don't provide immersive detail. And I always call this the time machine. So the metaphor of the time machine is simply that you are taking the reader to the past, and when those doors open of the time machine, we have to be able to see everything you saw in the past, whether it's people, places, animals, objects. So you really have to rack your brain to remember that. And I see a lot of stories that don't do that. A lot of stories have generality. They're very vague. They say, my dog barked at me. Well, I can't see your dog. You need to describe the breed or the look of the dog or something before the dog barks so that we can immerse ourselves in that moment. Also, a lot of people tend to script write. So that is, their memoirs tend to be just people talking. So like a movie script or like a TV script, where it's just speech after speech after speech. But we can't, in that sense, get any visuals of what the characters are doing, what they look like, Are they moving? What clothes are they wearing? That kind of thing. What place are they in at the moment? So we have to get beyond that generality and vagueness. There's often a lack of immediacy. So if we don't give details of what we're seeing at that moment, or even we could do other senses like hearing or smelling, then we don't necessarily as readers feel like we're right there with you. We're in the other room, or we're outside the house, eavesdropping on our characters. But we want to be inside the room. We want to be inside the house. We want to be inside the classroom. So you have to bring that immediacy through detail. And then number 5 on the rules of engagement is to make it new. Your life is original. So this is the easy part. You just have to show your life. You don't have to worry about plagiarizing or copying anyone because no one has lived a life that you have lived. Your life is original. So all you're doing is retelling that life. And I always recommend using original language. Well, what is original language? I'll explain in a second. But to make it new is to do it in your own way and to find your voice. If you're a beginning memoir writer, this isn't going to be easy. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of writing. Now, if you've done a lot of writing over your life, maybe you've developed your voice. You know your style on the page. In the same way that your partner, your kids, your friends, when they hear your voice on the phone, they know it's you. Well, we all have a writing voice that we develop over time. And so you need over time to find your voice. Now, I don't tend to think of that as anything goes, that you can have any style you want. That's why within the brackets here I've written, within the standards of professionalism. So you are limited by a certain professional style. And a good example of this is I have some students, they're writing personal narrative, and they'll write it in the style of a text message with condensed words and emojis. And I have to take them aside and say, look, within the standards of professionalism, this is unacceptable. This may be your voice when you're texting someone on your cell phone, on your mobile, but it's not sort of in the professional world of writing. So we have limitations, but there's still space there. There's still room for you to be yourself within the standards of professionalism. So what can go wrong with making it new? Well, copying the style of another writer. When I was a 20-year-old, I loved the writer David Remnick. He's the editor of the New Yorker magazine. And I read everything he did. He was in the area of nonfiction, creative nonfiction, telling stories of other people from around the world. He particularly had an interest in Russian history. And I modeled myself after him to a degree, and I realized I was copying him. I wasn't finding my voice. And also falling back on cliche phrasing. So cliches are simply overused phrases, words. As a kid, you heard all these phrases like an apple a day keeps the doctor away, a blue moon, something happens only once in a blue moon. These are cliches. They're overused, and really you only use them if it's within speech. Like if your grandma spoke in cliches, then you can use them, but in your own prose, you have to avoid cliche phrasing. Okay, so that was a lot of advice to process, the 5 rules of engagement. You may wonder now where to begin with all this advice. It may even feel overwhelming. Sometimes you need some help. So if you recall, near the start of this video, I explained that if what you heard made sense and you felt I could help you in some way, I was going to reveal a way you could work with me. Well, I've actually put together something I'm really excited about, and I want to share it with you. If you're interested in becoming a client and having me work with you to develop a memoir that will engage with readers, that will eventually garner those Amazon reviews, here's how I can help. Introducing the Memoir Workshop, the complete course for writing and editing your life story. The purpose of the Memoir Workshop is to show you how to write and edit engaging personal narratives and develop a full publishable memoir. So what's included in the Memoir Workshop online course? Well, it's an 8-week course and coaching program to develop story ideas, improve your writing skills, get to that professional level, and then eventually produce a publishable memoir. Also included is recorded videos that you can watch at your leisure, a lot of writing exercises to apply the lessons, some key story prompts to get you going, particularly if you're someone, as I said earlier in this training, who hasn't started yet. Sometimes you need a push, you need those prompts to get you going. And also this course includes Zoom meetings, 2 Zoom meetings with me to discuss your progress. And you can log in online to the course using a laptop, tablet, phone, and you can consume the training on your own schedule. So who is this for? First of all, it's for anyone who wants to write a memoir but doesn't know how to begin. Anyone who has started writing a memoir but needs a coach or a mentor to push forward. Sometimes you can read all the books you want on memoir, but you need somebody there to push you along, to be accountable to. You need that coach or mentor. And number 3, this is for anyone who has almost finished writing a memoir and wants to polish the draft manuscript. You want to make sure you've covered all your bases. You've done everything you can before you start finalizing it and thinking about publishing it. So what are you getting in the memoir workshop? Well, first of all, you're getting the complete memoir writing lessons, writing exercises that are going to help you try out a lot of these techniques for engagement, and 7 story prompts. They're going to prompt you to think of things in your past at different ages, in different environments that will provide the spark for your memoir. You're going to improve your writing skills and produce engaging stories about your past. The foundation of the Memoir Workshop online course is the video lessons. So you probably read grammar books, style books, memoir writing books, and they give you hundreds and hundreds of points, things to do or things to avoid. Well, really, you don't need to know 100 things to engage with your readers. The most important things are right here. So I have the first 7 weeks of the modules dealing with the 7 most common issues in writing. And this is based on my experience with thousands of students. So you can see the 7 things here. Do those 7 things. For example, creating pictures or making it new or adding structure. Do those 7 things, and that's enough. That's enough to engage with your readers really well. Some of the things, the opposite of these things, the interfering factors, are things that put up boundaries and readers can't get into your writing. Or maybe the stories don't move along. Or maybe you're writing in a very general way that the readers don't find interesting. So I go through all of these principles and their opposites, their interfering factors in these lessons. So let me go into the first module. You see these videos here. You can watch those videos just by clicking the play button, and they're very short. Most of the videos are no longer than 10 minutes. But you can't become an engaging writer just by watching videos. You can't become an engaging writer just by reading books. You actually have to apply these lessons. So in addition to having over 100 of these lesson videos in the course, just covering a range of sentence level and paragraph level topics, and also the broader topics of writing the memoir manuscript or book later on, I have a number of exercises. So let me click into one of these modules. So see the exercises here. These are exercises to apply yourself. You need to apply the lessons. You need to try them out, not just watch the videos. One of my favorites is actually the hierarchy of detail. And so this one is about developing a deeper characterization of the people in your past, whether that's the school principal or a teacher or your mom and dad. This exercise gives you a chance to think about the things that they did before you even write about them in a story. What did they do? What did they say? What was their reputation? And so you can do this exercise, the hierarchy of detail. You upload a file, submit it to me in the right corner here, and I will review this. I'll talk more about what I do in terms of feedback later in this video. Now, those exercises don't take a long time. You can probably complete them in 15 to 20 minutes per week, but it's really important for the application, the internalization of these lessons here, that you do those exercises. And the next type of application, and this is what I think you really want to do, is write the stories, the personal narratives. And within each one of these 7 weeks, you have a prompt. Prompts are a great way to get you out of procrastination. If you're not sure where to go and you've wondered what to write about, how do I start? These prompts will help you with just getting going. So let's look at one example of a prompt. Here in the Story Principles video that I have in each of the 7 weeks, there are things about scope and structure, about memories versus reality, and how can you remember things from your distant past. And then at the end of each of these little tips videos, story principles videos, I have a prompt. So here's a prompt that's going to spark an idea for you. Write a 500-word narrative about something that you experienced or observed as a child. And these lessons should give you some sort of direction that you need to move forward. So these story prompts will spark ideas. They'll get you going in certain directions. And by the end of the course, you will have 7 of these, all on different themes about your life. And these can provide that foundation for your book. The 7 weekly lessons where you work on these 7 principles of good writing, good memoir writing, they each have lessons about actual memoir issues beyond the style points. They have memoir issues discussed in the story principles videos. And those are weaved in where appropriate throughout these 7 weeks. And that'll help you understand writing those stories better. But also it's important, the story principles for writing the eventual larger manuscript. So you get those as well during the lesson portion. And then when you've worked through these weeks of almost like boot camp lessons, and you've written your 7 stories, you've got that foundation for your memoir, then you can turn to week 8, which is called putting it together. It is all about the book manuscript. So I talk about the scene-by-scene approach to writing your memoir, finding a focus. If you've got a complicated life, you've done a lot of things, you don't want to write an autobiography about everything you did in your whole life, you need to focus on something, and there's lessons on that. Theme versus time-based memoirs can help you decide exactly what parts of your life to include. There's also a section on research and preparation. Creating an outline. When you're dealing with a big project, often it helps to have an outline. I'll talk about plot. Writing the first draft. How should you go about doing that? How should you revise? And again, how should you polish that draft at the end? So that is the book manuscript, week 8. I'm not expecting you're going to finish a book in 8 weeks. That would be ambitious. But the 7 weeks will get you 3,500 words. It'll get you 7 stories out there, working with me on making them better. And then when you complete that and all the 20 exercises, then you can now turn towards that larger project. And you have all the lessons here to guide you towards the book manuscript. So that's the core of the online course. But you also need feedback. So you need someone to coach you one-on-one and tell you if you're on the right track. In the Memoir workshop, I provide that feedback on the exercises. I'll tell you if you're understanding the concepts. And also in the stories, I provide detailed feedback, both editing and overall comments on the engagement of those 7 stories that you write to those prompts. And then moreover, we have also in this course a 30-minute Zoom call in the middle of the course and at the end of the course where we can discuss your stories. You can ask me whatever you want about your stories, your writing, your direction. And what I'm doing is, just like this coach here coaching his team, you need somebody who has that experience in the area, who can advise you, can tell you if you're on the right track, can give you support, encouragement to move on, to tell you you're on the right track. Here's an example of some of the comments I write on a story typically. That's in addition to any editing that I do. So you're getting the writing lessons, the exercises, story prompts, that writing feedback, that really important one-on-one coaching. And there's also another element to help you become a better memoir writer. The Memoir workshop also includes a full online course in punctuation. So some people feel punctuation isn't that important, and it does get overlooked in writing memoirs, and it does seem insignificant, but really punctuation holds your writing together. And if all you know is what to do with a period, this course gives you all of the basics of punctuation to develop your eye for detail. And throughout this course, throughout this workshop, is about developing your eye for detail. I've included quizzes as well for every type of punctuation so you can see if you've really understood it. The Memoir workshop also includes the ultimate guide to proofreading to teach you how to find embarrassing errors before you send out that final manuscript, whether it's to agents, whether it's to publishers. Imagine you've gone through the Memoir workshop online course, you've worked with me and I provided feedback to you. Then you've gone on and taken the spark that comes from writing these 7 stories, and you've actually completed your manuscripts. You've got 50,000 words, 70,000 words, whatever it is. You feel like you've completely told the story you wanted to tell. What's next? Well, the final thing to do is proofreading, and that's why I've included a full proofreading course within the Memoir workshop, and that gives you good habits, practical tips for proofreading words and punctuation, and just finding those little errors that are embarrassing in your final draft of your manuscript. And I think this will also help you see your writing in greater detail and also to see your writing more objectively. You've lived with it for months. You often can't see the errors. Your eyes just go right over those errors. So here is a full, complete, ultimate guide to proofreading so you can go through and learn how to proofread your own work. And then also, more importantly, get this into great shape so that if you do hire an editor or copy editor or proofreader to review it, they won't have to do much work. And that's going to save you money if there's fewer errors in that final manuscript. If you're thinking of just self-publishing and not having a copy editor or proofreader look at it and just going straight to Amazon, then this will give you a chance, and help in terms of finding all those final errors so you don't leave in any embarrassing mistakes in that version published online. So there's a lot here in the Memoir workshop. You might think it would take you a lot of time. And I know most of us are very busy. We've got real jobs. We've got other things going on with our families and friends. So what is the real time commitment for the Memoir workshop? Well, I think it's just 2 hours a week for 8 weeks. I think all of us can find at least 2 hours a week to work on our writing. That might mean taking 2 hours away from Netflix or from listening to podcasts. Maybe you have to work half an hour at lunch break each day to get the work done, but it's not a lot of a time commitment each week. If you take it at your steady pace, you can get all of this done. The 7 stories, the lessons, the meetings with me, we can get it all done in 8 weeks, and you'll be off to a great start on your memoir. So what would you have? Well, you'll have 7 fully edited stories about a range of topics in your past, from when you were a child to when you were a working adult. You'll have those 7 stories. Those stories might provide the foundation for your memoir. They might be a spark of other ideas, memoir, memories, and so on. You'll also develop your professional writing skills. Particularly if you've never taken a writing course, I can show you how to get to that professional level. And most importantly, as I talked about earlier in this video, reader engagement techniques. So those 5 rules of engagement, I teach those in the Memoir workshop. All the things you do in the Memoir workshop will help you achieve those reader engagement goals. And I think with the coaching and the feedback, you get a framework, you get a direction. So if you're really not sure where you're going in terms of doing a memoir, you've read some books, but you can't get started, maybe this is the human connection you need to provide that framework, that way forward to write that memoir. By the end of the Memoir workshop, you'll have a confidence in your writing abilities and in your ability to tell your unique life story. And I think that's worth a lot to have that confidence. So that's what you get from the Memoir workshop. Now let's hear from a student who went through the Memoir workshop recently and hear what she says she got from the course.
Hi, I'm Amanda. I just finished the Memoir workshop with Duncan Kerber. What I really liked about it is that it was split into modules that you could take at your own pace. Each of those modules focuses on something really important to building a memoir, or building any writing really. From grammar, structure, strength and voice, passive and active verbs, and punctuation. What I really liked about it as well is that at the end of each module there was a story prompt. So it gave you an opportunity to work through one of your own stories, write something about your own past, but writing it through the lessons that you've learned so that it's a strong foundation for your memoir. At the end of the course, I had 7 stories that I could use to get started writing my own book. For beginners, I think it's a great place to start. It helps you to build your writing strong, find your voice, and avoid some of those grammatical pitfalls that we all fall into. And I think in the end, it makes your editing process a little bit easier. I highly recommend it. Give it a try.
Another student who took the course is Sammy Stacy. She's also in the Facebook group that I run, Telling Your Story. She says, I got so much out of this. The lessons and the personalized feedback on my work helped me polish the drafts and take my writing to a higher level. I appreciate the attention to detail in the lessons and the explanations of the underlying principles, which are often missed by others. So those are just 2 stories of students who've succeeded and come out of the Memoir workshop, having improved their writing. You're getting all of these things, the lessons, the exercises, the prompts, the feedback from me, the one-on-one coaching, the punctuation mastery course, and the proofreading course. If this was all sold separately, it would be $1,738. So again, let's recap. You get an 8-week online course and coaching program to develop those story ideas that I know you have, those great moments in your past that just need to be excavated, they need to be brought to life. You will improve your writing skills, and you will produce, in the end, a publishable memoir if you keep on this path. You get those recorded videos you can watch when you want to watch them. The writing exercises that are going to apply the lessons is not going to be a case of you just watching videos and wondering what to do with what you're learning. You will actually apply those lessons in the writing exercises. And the story prompts, which I think are really important, sparking creativity, to spark ideas, to figure out what you want to write about. And those Zoom meetings where I'm going to coach you, I'm going to provide feedback, encourage you, so we can look at your progress as we go through those 8 weeks. And remember, you can log in using whatever device you want, a laptop, tablet, phone, and do this whenever you have those 2 hours a week. So the everyday price, if I sold each part separately, would be $1,738. Click below to get started today for just $497. I cannot wait to work with you on writing and editing a compelling memoir that engages with your readers. Let's do it. See you on the other side.